Welcome back, everybody, to the ATL Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Shepard. I'm joined today by Josh Schulman, assistant baseball coach for Georgia Tech, fresh new assistant baseball coach for Georgia Tech as of about a month ago. So, Coach, congratulations. I met Coach. He probably doesn't remember the first time that I met him. We were up at Head First, both assistant coaches, and he was coaching at a school in Cali. So I asked him how he found his way to the East Coast, and he was coaching in Cali for not a lot of money, and he was going from camp to camp, sleeping on any couch that his buddies would find. So I titled our first segment today, From Couch to Couch to the Flat. So, Coach, why don't you give us a rundown real quick how you've made it to where you are in the flats, as they say.
No, I appreciate it, Shep. And it's funny, man. I got to give a big shout out to Matt Pisano for letting me and his family crash on his couch up in Boston for so much as summer 16. It's been a wild ride, and it is such a blessing to be here at Georgia Tech. And awesome people, incredible program, just an awesome place to finally be at. The journey is never what I thought it would be. As when I was in college, I was a 78 to 80 lefty out of high school from College Station, Texas. A&M and Rice were not recruiting that. Weirdly enough, that wasn't helping them get to Omaha. I ended up through Head First at the University of Rochester, all the way from College Station, Texas. I thought I was going to do the typical type A thing from there, go to law school, make some money, whatever it is, and realized after my junior year that after a breakup of all things, that my priorities weren't where they wanted to be, and coaching was what I felt called into. And went through my senior year, finished playing, jumped into coaching, and was fortunate I got my first gig at the college level with Frank Pericolosi out with Pomona Pitzer in Los Angeles.
There we go.
Getting to hang out in SoCal, soak up all the sun, all the Tex-Mex. And from there, I was just extremely blessed of how relationships overlap for new opportunity. My former college head coach, Joe Reyna, helped me get an opportunity with Wofford College in South Carolina. Crazy story of my car breaking down while driving across the country back to LA right after meeting you, Shep. Mm-hmm. And that led to me getting an on-campus interview at Wofford. After Wofford for 2 years as a volunteer assistant, ended up on staff at Yale for 3.5 years as their assistant coach, recruiting coordinator, base running, catching, jack of all trades, team mom, you name it. As things went through there, my heart still being in South Carolina, an opportunity came up to rejoin the staff with Wofford as their pitching coach with Coach Donato, with JJ. And it was one of those things that was just simply too good to pass up. And after the last 3 seasons there, this opportunity presented with a close relationship with the Georgia Tech staff. And from my end, man, like wearing cooler t-shirts has never been the MO. It's the opportunity to pour into kids' lives and at the end of the day, see them grow through baseball, and the chance to continue to work with great friends and in a place where you really don't have to sacrifice anything relative to, you have world-class academics, you have phenomenal baseball in the ACC, and you got a place that values team over everything. And what more can you ask than working with some of your closest friends and trying to make a success happen out here in the field behind me?
When you say all those things, I know personally that you mean them, because oftentimes when we're sitting behind the dugout or sitting behind the catcher and evaluating kids, I gotta yell at you to too positive sometimes, too nice. I'm like, yo, Josh, just tell me like it really is, man. Tell me how you like really feel. Not everything is, it just. And I appreciate that, because you never have a bad day, and if you do, nobody sees it around you. You're always positive. So, when you say things like that, it's more about pouring into kids' lives. I know you truly mean that. It's probably why we've always had a good mutual respect for each other and been, coaching buddies. And I do appreciate that. And we have a lot of Wofford tentacles around our organization, around this podcast, and a lot of people that have come through there have been good dudes. So, today, what I really wanted to, I know we talked about this a couple of months ago, was the NCAA is changing the rules for a number of players allowed to have on a roster and scholarships and all that. You just, for the people listening that might not know, can you just kind of elaborate and in terms that they might be able to understand. Talk about what kind of changes that they're going to be and what you think is going to come of those changes.
Oh, 100%. Well, we just had arguably the biggest bomb dropped on college baseball in its history earlier this summer with the House settlement, which I'm not going to get into all the legal details. Like I coach baseball, man. I'm not a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of the rules that are now in place is that starting in fall 2025, there will be a 34-man roster at the Division One level with schools that are a part of this settlement dealing with not paying players for NIL back in the day. The other side, though, is that the NCAA is raising as part of the 34-man roster limit a scholarship maximum up to 34 scholarships at any school that wants to have up to 34. Now, there's a lot of details that still have to be solved. The biggest ones being what is the roster size for the fall? And on top of it, what are the Title IX implications relative to do you need to match the extra scholarships on the women's sports side? As of right now, we do not have hard answers for these. Getting to the simple reality, though, is that we have seen a big movement the last 5 years that college baseball, Division One baseball, Power Five especially, is becoming more professional. It's awesome, man. There's more butts in seats. You have more viewership than ever. Wofford and LSU had the second highest viewed game during regionals of all things.
Mm-hmm.
Games on Big Boy ESPN. It's awesome. It's great for the growth of the sport. But the trade-off is you're having a more professional environment, which means more business-driven outcomes. You have more money thrown around with NIL than you could ever imagine. There's more ruthlessness with roster management, that people are turning over rosters left and right. Kids are getting cut left and right. It's a lot of ruthless things going on. And right now, what is coming is with this roster change, a 34-man roster, just like minor league baseball went through losing 161 to 121 teams, you're having 6 spots whacked off the top of, we'll say, at least 200 to 250 programs. That's a lot less opportunities inside Division One baseball. You're also having more money still available for kids to transfer. Everybody wanting to have older players for more experience instead of a high school driven model. It's becoming a pretty tough time, to put it bluntly, to be a high school player because there's a lot of older guys sticking around. There's
Mm-hmm.
less guys getting drafted. And the win now model of putting butts in seats and keeping guys, keeping your job means you want to bet on older players. And Shep, like I know we've talked a little bit about this, man, but it, I really feel for all the high school kids right now because this is not what they signed up for in the dream of playing college baseball. The good news is every other level is becoming way more competitive too. Division 3 is becoming my home. Played it, man. Lived it, coached it, all of it. It's becoming way more talented than it's ever been. D2, NEIA, JUCO, you have a lot more really good players that are your typical D1 guys 5 years ago that are playing at that level now. And it means that getting to the college level is a goal in itself. Yeah, man, we understand everybody wants to play at the highest level. I was there too. I wanted to play at Rice. That was my dream. At 78 to 80, man, that was not going to happen. No matter how much I felt at 16 or 17, I could just will it to be. But the good news is that baseball is better everywhere. Finding somewhere you have the chance to play has never been more important. And finding somewhere where you have roots that you believe in, that you want to invest and put down, like that's the thing that makes people have success stories, not looking up going, man, I just got bounced by a place I thought was cool, but at the end of the day, I never had a real opportunity to be there.
Mm-hmm. That's why we always stress, like, I mean, I know we talked about it before, like, go where you wanted. You know what I mean? Go where you'll be taken care of, where, you know, you'll be prioritized, where, you know, you'll be developed. And there's nothing wrong with the way, the model, the way it's going to change, where it will be more ruthless. I mean, it'll be better. The talent will be higher because competition breeds, you know, the best. So there's going to be positives and there's going to be negatives. It's just like everything else. Like as humans, like we're going to have to just adapt to it. You know, we may not like it. It may not be for the better, but there will be some positives that come out of it. And I think, you know, moving forward, like we said before, you know, those high academic D3s, you know, the high academic mid majors, like D1s, like those are going to be the money places to be, really. I mean, because it's not going to be you're going to get replaced, like that. They don't. If you look at those schools, they don't turn the rosters over a ton. And it's just a different landscape for everybody, and it's interesting that you'll be at all those the different you've coached at Division III, you coached at the mid-major D1, now you're going to be at Georgia Tech, so you're going to experience all of them. So I mean, when it's all said and done, maybe when we are a couple years down the road and we're not on air, maybe we can talk about which one you like the best, or what do you think is best for baseball, and all that. But us complaining about it, or not adapting to it, is not the way to go. You just kind of have to, like everything else, just figure out how to maneuver it in the current landscape, and move forward. So
Yep, no question.
Changing gears a little bit. Typically, coaches have one area of expertise. Like, they're a pitching guy, they're a hitting guy. You have done it all. Literally, like you. I looked at your role one. I was like, "What? Wait, what?" I thought he was just a pitching guy, this analytics guy. Like, how have you carved out different roles in the different places you've been, and what has made you comfortable do that? Because, like, for me, like, I don't ever want to touch pitching stuff. Like, here's my pitching philosophy. It's like, get ahead with the fastball, or get ahead. We want to get it out in three pitches or less. Weak contact, 3 pitches or less. That's it, right? We're going to set up, like my catchers, we set up right down the middle. Got errors on both sides. But that's as in-depth as my pitching strat is. How do you, at a college level and a high level that you're at, how are you comfortable doing all the things?
Well, I think it starts with, I understand in this day and age, we live in the TikTok, Instagram culture of, like, you want clout and you want it quickly. You want validation, you want it quickly. The reality is, like, you need growth, and growth is not always going to come easy and come over a day. And you also need to be around people that are going to make you grow. And Shep, what this comes down to is I have been incredibly blessed to be around some pretty amazing mentors, helping me grow and understand the game in different ways. I was a pitching guy, came into college coaching as a pitching guy, showed up at Wofford, and with Todd Interdonato in the base running side of things, it was a completely different lens for the game that I had ever been exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And it became something that I just got passionate about, and saw the advantage it created in winning games and putting pressure on defenses. I also got to get an introduction to coaching catchers from just being around Todd, and going up to Wofford, or excuse me, going to Yale from Wofford, being around Tucker Frawley, who's now the catching and infield and run prevention coordinator. I may butcher that title, Tucker, I'm sorry. Coordinator for the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
It exposed a completely different lens to analytics, to defense, to team defense and team offense. That was just a different way of approaching it than Wofford, but helped me continue to grow. Being around Seth Cutler-Volz, now pitching coach with Notre Dame, understanding his lens for pitching and how it helped me grow. Like, you look at all these things, and I can give shout outs everywhere along the way here. JJ at Wofford, all these places that you leave with imprints on yourself of just understanding that you can produce value as an assistant by being passionate about these different areas. When you look at any organization you're in, and Shep, the same way with you inside the ATL Lightning, your players are only going to be as good as your investment into wanting them to be good. What I mean by that is, like, guys are going to be talented as is. Like, they are going to be more than talented enough just to roll out there and play. To see them grow, they need people who are invested in seeing the best of them. Part of that is being passionate and just caring about people, caring about them having success. Like Mudita, the powerful thing of joining other people's success, like, that's a huge part of coaching. This isn't just the me fest. This isn't the Josh Schulman show. It's caring about other people's success. The other side of it is that you have to equip them with the information, the awareness, the feedback to get the most out of their talents. And when you say you are a player's coach, That just doesn't mean just being buddy and being able to relate. It means that you
Letting them
also
do whatever they
care.
want. Like that's what kids think.
Yep. Like you can do that. Like you can really care about your players. But if you want to care about them on field, you have to be willing to learn and grow and do whatever you can in your role to make them better. So as you look up at the coaching staff, like you have people that stay on one side of the ball the entire time. They become specialists. You need them, man. You want your orthopedic surgeon to be an orthopedic surgeon. You don't want your dermatologist to be giving you a UCL reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
You also don't want your orthopedic surgeon helping you navigate a skincare issue.
Yep.
You need
Yep.
specialists. And if you're in that role, like own that lane, be the best at it. From my end, I've just been fortunate that the roles allowing me to bounce on different sides of the ball, being around great people has allowed me to grow to wear more hats.
No, it's great. I mean, and then it's there is something to be said for like a coach when, or even just a human when you're I mean, again, this is a cliche, but we are all for cliches on this podcast because they're around, because they're true. But whenever you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, that's a huge feature, or feather in your cap. And if you can walk in and say, guys, I've never done this shit before, but like, we're going to figure it out together. And you've built a relationship with them where they trust you, and where you've probably had it where you've changed a kid's mechanics, and 2 or 3 weeks later you're like, can we just rewind? We're like, you just look and you're like, this was not a good change. And the kid looks at you and he's like, yeah, I agree, coach, but what are we going to do next? You know what I mean? Where they're not like, oh man, like coach has it out for me, like whatever. They now hate you, right? It's you've built this relationship and this trust with them that you can change the mechanic. You can be wrong. You can say, hey guys, I don't know the answer to that, but like, give me 24 hours and I'm going to reach out to TI, or I'm going to reach out to wherever and figure it out, so that's awesome. I'm happy. I was always curious on that, so I'm happy to actually ask you and the explanation for that. Technology in the game of baseball. How do you use it? What do you think it's good for? What should our kids be using? And just expound upon technology.
Oh, it's good for nothing. We all need to throw our phones away. We need to read books more, and we all need to have less screen time. Um,
You're
on,
not
on
wrong.
a
You're not wrong.
on a serious answer, um, look, it is this is a really cool time to be a player in baseball because you've never had more access to information, to understanding who you are as a player than anybody who's ever played the game. You starting at 13U, 12U, whatever it is, could be throwing on a TrackMan unit, getting every single bit of feedback in game of how hard you're hitting, how you're throwing, your movement profiles, which do not matter at 12 and 13U, but that's another side tangent we can get down. It's great that we have access to knowing more. Information is better, but the reality is, and I will quickly pan over here to show this field behind me.
Yes, please do.
This beautiful field. It's awesome. I promise you, the 90 feet is the same here as anywhere else. North Atlanta High School, it's the same thing. The mound is 60 feet 6 inches, the same way as North Atlanta High School right back there. It's the same game. And even if you go down to Truist, anything else, yes, there's things that data is allowing us to better understand what's actually happening. But there's also the reality that when you get between the lines, you need to go out and ball. You need to go out and be a dog and play the game and not be stuck in this box of, hey, man, what was my IVB on that pitch I just threw? Hey, what was my attack angle on that swing right there? Like, there's a time and place for the feedback loop of objective information. But we also need, for our success at the ACC level, much less for any player out there, you've got to be able to go out and trust who you are and just play. That is a foundation that can never be changed. Is can you go out and just play? What is great about data now is getting back to the positive side, you are better able to understand your strengths and potential weaknesses more than before. Instead of the, hey man, like, why am I getting hit around? I feel like I'm throwing hard. I'm throwing 90-91. Why am I getting, torched around the yard? You could look up and go, man, like my profile's in game. Like I throw a dead zone fastball. I'm missing in a part of the zone where I'm probably going to get crushed. I'm not using my skill set to the best of my advantage. That's great. From a hitting side, you could look up and go, yeah, like, man, like I just feel like I'm hitting a lot of balls in the air, but I'm just not getting rewarded for it. Hey, every ball you've hit's been 85 to 88. You're not burning any outfielders. Your profile plays more of you need to get it down between 10 to 20 degrees of launch angle
Hmm.
because you can't get it up. Or hey man, like I just feel like I keep grounding out and like hitting it hard. Yeah, dude, you're hitting it 108. Get the ball in the air. Like you are good enough to get the ball in the air, bat flip, and see some cool things happen. I think that, and we can keep going down a lot of this, and I don't want to rant too much on an intro on
No,
this.
please rant.
It's the data is as powerful as you trusting a foundation of who you are day to day. If you're always needing to look at TrackMan to validate how good of a player you are, you're never going to be a good player. If you're looking at a blast sensor, and we use them a lot here, we're a big believer in them. If you're looking at a blast sensor after every swing, wanting to get validation whether that was a good swing or not, you're not going to be successful in game when you've got to get a good hack off a dude throwing 92 to 96 with an insane friggin' breaking ball. You've got to form a trust at your core foundation. You know what makes you good. Data can help you understand that. But between the lines, there's a certain level in here and right here in your heart that has to shape who you are as a player for the objective information to become a teaching tool more than a slave of comparison.
Like jungle cats versus zoo cats. I think it was a Denison
Yep.
thing. And maybe it was someone before them. What's the difference? Because we both agree that like you have to train exit velocity and you have to train launch angle and you have to train arm velocity to maximize your potential. But if that's all you ever work on, you lose the part of like being able to do it in a game, or you know, you don't hit baseball off a tee. Like you don't do that in a game, right? And if your best exit velocity is always off of pitching machine at 55 miles an hour right down the middle, all fastballs, like we're never gonna hit our that exit velocity in a game, right? Like, so what's the best way to train both? Like, how do you get your players in the mindset of, okay, now like we're developing this, and then tomorrow at practice, I want you to fail because I want to make it hard for you. How do you merge those mindsets, if you will?
Yeah. No, that's Shep. I think that's the $1 million question where you get to see great coaches and great players excel, and coaches that, to be honest, cannot either game plan or be vulnerable with their players, and players in turn game plan and not be vulnerable enough to understand that you need failure to develop, but it has to tie back into a clear direction you are trying to head. Here's the great thing now when it comes to the objective data side. You can get a better understanding of where you stack up against other college level players pretty easily. You can look up and go, hey man, this is what you can go on even perfect game profiles, even though I won't go on a rant how those guns sometimes give some pretty bad numbers. That's another discussion for another time. You can look up going, hey man, what do the top players in the country, what are their profiles looking like mine right now? Well, this guy's averaging 90 to 92. He's throwing 68% strikes at all PG events, and he's punching a lot of guys out, and he doesn't walk anybody. Okay, that's what it looks like to be a top 50 player in this class. I'm currently at 80 to 83, and this is the gap between me and what a guy that's pitching in the SEC or ACC is going to be. I know I need to get there. I know
Mm-hmm.
what that gap is of where my objective information is. Hey, I know that middle infielders, and if this isn't the case, like I know Wofford runs, I know a lot of places value speed. Not all middle infielders are going to be 6'6" runners,
Mm-hmm.
but you can look up and compare apples to apples more of what the best are doing and where you are currently at. Where rubber meets the road is understanding that there is a time and place for the cage mindset of sheer output mindset where the weight room also matters a good bit. And I'm going to say this for all the high schoolers out there that are happening to watch this. You need to go and live in the weight room. Be smart about it. Do not be a meathead and friggin' blow a disc in your back by doing something dumb. But you need to be physical because this level is physical. That is the biggest advantage you can stack leading up into the summer of your senior year. Go out and get physical and explosive. The other side, getting to the training environment, is that you need to incorporate training to match the game. Yeah, man, you need to swing the bat hard. You need to be able to juice baseballs, but you've got to be able to do it while people are mixing, while you are not sure what's coming. You are facing velo that is firmer than you're really honestly comfortable with because you're trying to make the game when you're out there between the lines slower than what it is. I can promise you this, that coaches showing up to watch the ATL Lightning this summer, this fall, they are watching how you play as well as your tools. You can be throwing 90 to 93 and you're going to get some opportunities. But if you cannot get hitters out, your future in the game is not going to matter. So what you need to be able to incorporate from the coaching side to the player to coach is it needs to mirror the difficulties, the constraints, all of the factors of the game. So when you go out there and play, you're in North Atlanta High School playing for the Lightning in the summer, you know the game is slow because you've trained it to be difficult and you're not surprised by anything you're seeing in the game setting.
So like you said, I love that, if you throw 90, 93, you're going to get some opportunities, but if you can't get people out, then you have a ceiling essentially. And same goes the opposite, where if you are the lefty that's throwing 78 to 88, wanting to go to Yale, and you just get everybody out, that's great and all, but you got to understand that at a certain level, coaches are going to say that velocity is not enough for me. Like, yeah, I love everything about this kid, and maybe Yale's going to call up, I don't know, Hendricks down the road and say, I got a great kid for you. Hendricks is a D3 school in Arkansas. But the way baseball is now, with how many good baseball players there are, and with the roster sizes and everything, and MLB, like just the trickle down effect. Not only do you have to get outs, but you got to have the stuff, and no longer can you just have the stuff. You got to get the outs. But I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of coaches, is the higher level you go, is going to take more of a chance on the kid has the stuff that's not quite there yet, as opposed to that kid knows how to pitch, but his velocity's not there.
No, you're right on that. It's the dirty. I mean, it's you
right or wrong. I'm not saying we feel good about it. We got to take a shower afterwards, but
it's the same with the draft. You want to go see some embarrassing things. Look at the numbers of some of the kids that got paid a lot of money in the draft the past season. Like, for better or worse, this doesn't mean they can't be really good big leaguers. But some of the college success didn't match what guys were ultimately paid or if guys were drafted or not. And that's the reality, that for these scouts, they've got to get dudes whose stuff mirrors what is happening at the professional level. They can't gamble on the 88 to 90 righty from college who has two pitches. Like, they've got to get somebody who's more explosive than 88 to 90. As sad as it is, like, getting back to the data side, we all like saying we like truth. Like, we want to hear the truth. We want honesty. Till you get uncomfortable honesty. Like, everybody says they want honesty.
Oh yeah, I know.
Something that what we at Wofford talked about is people want transparency. They don't want honesty. Like, they want transparency. They want it, but they don't want the full unmask, pull the curtains back truth. On both ends of it, you are going to get honesty about the type of player you are in this day and age. If you are 78 to 80, Josh Schulman out of high school, and you're thinking you're going to pitch even right now in the Ivy League, hey man, you're not. Like, objectively, you're going to see either PG is not going to rank you high, PBR is not going to rank you high, which does not matter, but you're going to see all these gaps between where you're at and where you want to be. If you're a 90-93 donkey that cannot get anybody out, you're going to have to look up on your StatCast or DiamondCast every summer, pitching to a 7.5 ERA, wondering why you're not getting the opportunities you may think you deserve. Like the honesty's out there more than ever. In getting to the vulnerability piece, people have a tough time as coaches. Coaches have a tough time saying they don't always have all the answers. And that
Mhm.
vulnerability needs to be there to become a better coach. Players have to be vulnerable with their own shortcomings in order to grow and make them more of their strengths.
I think that big V word you just said. I mean, if we want to take a step back out of baseball and we want to look at life in general as humans, I think evolving as a human being, allowing your, and this is as men, what we have really as men, and what we really have difficulty doing is allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, allowing ourselves to get hurt essentially by saying, "Hey, coach, do you think I'm good enough to pitch at Georgia Tech?" Like, and he says no, and in a lot of times, like our defense mechanism is to say, get mad at baseball with the way baseball's been. Like, oh, he'll take a chance on some 93 mile an hour lefty that he don't get any outs, but look at my ERA and everything. But like instead of just saying, looking, okay, what can I do? Make myself better. I've asked the question. I've not liked the answer, but instead of looking at ourselves and looking internally and being vulnerable and open to change and maybe saying, well, I've not done my part in this. I've not lifted, like you said, I've not examined the data. I've just, yeah, I've hit 100 balls off a tee all summer long, every single day. That's, 100,000 baseballs, but did I ever once hit a breaking ball off a machine? Did I ever once pipe that, machine up to 96, 95, whatever? I just hit off a tee. Like, yeah, you're swinging and you're doing things, but are you really doing things to make you a better baseball player? And it's really hard for me. I mean, for myself, like, I would tell you that I didn't allow myself to be vulnerable till I was 27. But when you do that, then you can change bad habits or change things that you need to get better to make you a better human, a better person, a better baseball player, a better friend, coach, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think that's one thing. I think we're getting better as a society, but I think that's something that we fall short on, and it's a bigger than baseball issue.
No, no question. And you can look up news stories till you're blue in the face about how even though we have more ability to connect with each other than ever before, we are lonelier than we have ever been as a society, as people. Like we are more isolated, lonelier, more disconnected because we honestly put up a lot of barriers. And it's good, like Shep, it is so good that we are now addressing, and this is another side tangent, man. The mental health side of the fact that sometimes things are not okay upstairs. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're not. Like I've coached plenty of players that they think things haven't been okay. And being willing to be open about that is great. And like that is such an essential step to getting help. Before we even get, and not that these are tied together, before we even get to the mental health side, there's so much more we can do to each other as teammates, as coaches to other coaches, friends, all of it, to be willing to show some of those deeper layers of our heart. Because deep down, man, like we all want validation. We all want to be known. Like we all want and we crave meaningful relationships around us. And for better or worse, we don't get there by only showing a small part of ourselves. Vulnerability sucks because you take a leap of faith that somebody may screw you over for it. Like that's the reality of it. But there's no other way we were built to truly feel like we have an identity than being open and being transparent and being willing to show those layers of our heart that we protect because we're scared of them getting hurt.
Yeah, it
And
sucks getting hurt.
God, does it suck, man? Like you and I both have some good stories to go down on that side. Um,
It's with everything. I mean, it's your car breaking down driving cross country, and you're gonna hop on an interview it leads you to an interview with Wofford, and then, you get your hopes up and you get excited, and then the opportunity doesn't come through, or, you're at a great place in Wofford, and then you have those emotions where I might go to Georgia Tech. Let's go take this interview. I think it went well. And then you get these you open yourself up to being let down. And that's really, really hard, because being let down sucks. It sucks. But that's part of growing too, is dealing with that failure. And, to relate it back to baseball, dealing with that failure I've seen kids where you put the machine right down the middle and it's 60 miles an hour and they can handle it. They crush baseballs. But then as soon as you put two machines, one in front of the other, one's got a curveball, one's got a fastball, you lift both your arms, you're going to drop one of them in, not both of them. And the kid doesn't know which one. So now the 65 mile an hour fastball looks like 95. And then the curveball looks like a Clayton Kershaw curveball. And now they swing and miss 10 times in a row. And now all of a sudden, when am I ever going to hit a baseball again? Like that's really hard. And that's learning how to deal with that failure that we don't always know how to deal with. And the point you made earlier about surrounding yourself with good people, and when you were talking about how you've coached all the different things, like that's part of it, is having a good coach, having a good team that's not going to point and laugh. They're not going to say, when a kid's throwing 17 straight balls, they're not going to yell from the dugout and say, throw strikes. Well, yeah, he's trying, okay? Like, he's not trying to throw balls. It's having that good support system that will pick you up, or maybe that coach says, hey, shorten your stride a little bit. And I always, like, when I was coaching with Parker and we'd give him a little pitching tip, and the kid would throw a strike, and I'd look at Parker and I'd say, that was a good tip. He goes, one of the kids was like, how'd you know that's was doing wrong? I said, I have no idea if what I told him is going to be good or bad. I said, but whatever was going on, I said, wasn't working. And whatever I told him gave him enough confidence, and maybe it was just an accident, throw strikes. But like, that's part of it, is you have to surround yourself with good teammates, good players, or, good coaches, parents. That whole support system is huge, especially if you're going to take that leap of faith and say, I'm going to let myself be vulnerable. I'm going to let myself fail. I'm going to, let myself be bad before I become good. So, I know we're short on time here today. So before we wrap it up with the lightning round, and because sometimes that's quick, sometimes it takes a little while. Is there anything that you want to hit on, or that we didn't mention, with the different roster sizes, or anything, you want to reiterate? I do want to ask you just to say, when we were talking earlier, how hard it is going to be to play college baseball at any level. Just hammer that home again. And not where these kids, you should just be fortunate enough to have a roster spot anywhere, but you know what I mean? Like, truly, well, because you have such a great outlook on that.
So, some good perspective time here. I am the son of two, let's say, pretty unathletic academics. Dad's an economics professor at A&M. Mom was getting her PhD in engineering, and ended up dropping out of that to focus on being a mom. Like, athletics wasn't really their thing. For me at 15, 16 years old, then I was always more of an undersized, hey, play hard, dirtbag.
Mm-hmm.
The dream was just getting to play college baseball. I understand in this day and age, everything's drawn up about the business side of playing baseball. Deep down, like, this is still the dream. Like, when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, the dream is just getting to play at the next level. The same right now that is happening with minor league baseball. There's way less spots. Becoming a minor league baseball player is harder than it's ever been. It's just a dream to get there. It's even harder to get to the bigs now. Just getting your foot in the door is a massive accomplishment. As we look at the future of college recruiting, finding somewhere that believes in you, is willing to see you grow, that is willing to believe in your journey. Like, I know we have Drew Burris here, who had a phenomenal freshman year. Drew Burress did not hit a single home run until the last few inter squads before our opening weekend. He did not hit a single home run all of his fall of his freshman year. He was not the best player in America. Like, he struggled. You need places that are going to believe in you and let you work through your failure. And from the bigger side of it, like, the odds of you making it to the bigs are really small, really,
Mhm.
really, really small. Find somewhere that is going to be the 40-year decision you're going to look back on and be glad your 18-year-old version of yourself was forward thinking enough to care about the bigger things in life, man. And finding somewhere that believes in you, that you have a chance to play, that you have a chance to live this dream out. Like, what more can you ask for?
Mhm. And getting an education while you do it. I mean, most of my friends, I say it all the time. Like, if you have a chance to go play college baseball, take that chance. Like, even if it's for a year, and then you'll never look back and say, "Well, what if I went and played?" The relationships you make, the connections that you make, the jobs. So many people get jobs when they graduate because of it, the saying, again, another cliche, but like, they're around because they're true. Like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Like, having that fraternity of a college baseball team and the college baseball team's alums in your job network is huge. It's going to allow you to get just, one of our ATL kids that's at Denison currently did a internship this summer with one of the former Denison baseball players who moved down here and took a job at a big retail place. And all that's just because of connections and who you meet. So it's like, pick a place that's going to invest in you and it's going to pour their time and money. And, because these coaches are going to be around you more than around their family. Pick a place that will do that for you. And usually you can't go wrong. Like Gio said earlier, like, of all the kids that we've sent to college, not one of them has transferred. Now, that could just be sheer luck. But I firmly believe it's like there's a small pocket of schools that we reach out to when our kids are smart enough and good enough to play. I don't just pick those schools out of randomly. It's like, I pick Wofford because, like, I know the guys at Wofford and they're really good people. You know what I mean? Like, if anyone ever wanted to go to Notre Dame, like, I know Volsey's he's dry as can be, but like, he's a good dude. You know what I mean? He's a good dude. Like, Tinkham, like all those guys, like the people at Rhodes, like, I want to send our guys to places that, I know that they're going to be cared about and treated well. And I think I don't even know how many kids are in college now, but not one of them transferring. That's amazing. And I want to hang my hat on that. Cause like, that's the goal of mine, is like, get someone to a place that they could feel comfortable with and they want to stay there for 4 years. And we've had that. So I think, that's the name of the game, man. Just find somewhere to play that's a good fit for you. That's going to be, offer you a good education. And, the college experience is going to be what you make of it wherever you go. In my opinion, I always tell kids, like, you can go to Georgia Tech and you're at a big school in a big city, but like, if you don't want to go out and explore things and have fun and meet a bunch of people, then you're not going to. You can also go to, Berry College in Rome, Georgia, and you can go out and have fun and you can meet every single person that lives on campus if that's how you approach it. But it's just going to be what you make of it.
No doubt. No doubt.
Had to throw a little Volsey shade there for no reason at
I
all. For
have
no
to.
reason.
He's so dry. I talked to him earlier today. He is so dry. He's my guy,
For
man.
no reason.
I will say this too. Like, this is not ATL Lightning in my back pocket. When you have coaches that actually know how to navigate recruiting, you are going to have an advantage navigating this current landscape. You need people who have connections, people who can look at every level, who can give you the honest truth of where you fit in as a player. You may not love it, but honesty is more important than getting your hopes crushed because you think you can go somewhere and it was never really a thing because the coaches who told you that were full of crap. Honesty and trust are the most important part in a competitive environment of being able to navigate this and end up in the right spot.
I went back up to head first in August this year because we sent a lot of our guys there. Obviously, we like it,
Yep.
but I just felt like I had been out of college coaching and working head first games because they asked me to work every year, and I'm just like, it's not worth it for me. Like, yeah, they'll pay me, but like, it's just being away from my wife and whatever. But I went back up this year because being 5 years out, I was like, I need to rekindle some of these relationships. And it was the first 2 sessions I didn't work. I was just there as like a parent almost.
Hmm.
And then I worked the next 2 sessions, but it was so good just to like re-spark. They're like, oh, you're with those guys, ATL. And by the end of session 4, it was like anyone that had wore the ATL hat, like college coaches were like, oh, I seen your kid in the bowl. He's great. And then they'd give me like a whole rundown on him. It was just, it was good. So I'm hoping you'll head back up there maybe. No, now you're at GT. I don't know if you guys will be able to do that, but maybe we'll hop on the same flight going up there. And
Got to work it out, man. The place is home. The reason I'm even here.
it's the reason a lot of us are where we are, man. I mean, it's just, again, it's just that network of people and being around those guys, and they do a great job, and kind of what they stand for is what a lot of coaches that go there stand for, which is what they pass on to their players. So I think that's why it works, man. Why it works. So lightning round, Josh.
Right.
Quick answers. They end up not being so quick sometimes because you got to expand on them, but it is what it is. So is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
Who's your favorite baseball player?
Albert Pujols.
Interesting.
Yep. I was born in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Okay.
4 hours from St. Louis. So when
Mm-hmm.
I was 5 years old, it was 1998, good old Big Mac attack in
Mm-hmm.
70 out. So I have been a huge Cardinals fan since then.
So your favorite MLB ballpark, is it in St. Louis?
Actually, it's Minute Maid. I love Minute Maid, dude.
Really?
Love Minute Maid Park. I think it's awesome.
Why?
Been to enough games there from being in College Station. I just
Yeah.
think it's a
The,
really, really cool place to watch a game.
the train?
Yep, all of it. It's so gimmicky, but it's awesome at the same time.
I actually went to a playoff game in St. Louis because I coached in Iowa, so it was only like an hour and a half drive. So I went and watched the Cardinals and Dodgers. That playoffs atmosphere was sick. PNC Park, have you been?
Haven't been.
PNC Park is so, and I'm a Cleveland guy, so I hate Pittsburgh. So beautiful, small but like homey. I love that place, but usually, I mean, that's the first time I've gotten Minute Maid as an answer. Normally, it's like Wrigley. I've got a Comerica. The Red Sox.
Yeah.
Any of those. So, what's your pregame superstitions, if you have any?
Pre-game superstitions. Man, I gotta find out what our routine is here. I can tell you at Wofford, it was man, usually a little bit of praying before the game. That's the biggest one. Uh yeah, not too many.
Are you pro or anti shift? I think I know that answer, but
Pro shift, but I think it's overdone. I think people think they should shift more than they should.
day or night games?
Night games, dude, always.
Pitching duel or offensive clinic?
Now that I'm on the offensive side, let's put up 20 runs, man. Let's have a fun offensive clinic.
What's your favorite Gatorade flavor?
The white one, whatever the clear one is.
No, we just speak in colors on this podcast. We're
Yep.
we're an academic organization, but like we're not an academic podcast with this guy at the helm. It's just colors, baby.
Yeah,
Big
white.
Green Monster, Chicago Ivy.
Big Green Monster.
Big League Chew or Double Bubble?
Ooh, Big League Chew for sure.
Best sunflower seed flavor.
Yo, Giants dill pickle. I will go down and die in that hill. Giants dill pickle to
That's
the
my
end
mom.
of it.
That's my mom's favorite too. Adam Sandler or Vince Vaughn?
Fitz one.
Interesting. Do you put pineapple on pizza?
No, 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 no.
I see. That's where we have to part, and that's where we have to end this podcast. So, Josh, I want to thank you for coming on. I assume this will not be the first time that you'll be on. We live so close together. I told G that if we ever do an in-person podcast, which I think we might be getting I might be getting a little podcast studio. It might
Okay.
be happening.
Okay.
So if we ever do an in-person one, I think you'd be great to have, be that first person. But obviously, if not, I definitely think you'll be back on, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a ton of each other with you being in Atlanta. If you need any spots to go eat, hit me up. I've got all the spots. So I got all the mom and pop places that you need to go. When the wife moves down here, if you need to know where to live, where not to live type thing, hit me up. But I appreciate you coming on today. Do you have anything to plug? You got any camps coming up? Is there anything any foundations, any of that?
No plugs yet. Get to Georgia Tech football games. Big win over Florida State, man. Jackets are going to do it big this year. Brent Key's going to get this thing right down here.
All right, here we go. So thank you everybody for tuning in. If you haven't, please like, share. If you haven't subscribed yet, do all that. Until next week on the episode, peace.